Good evening once again. Listen, I'm always very, very excited to join you here on The Dish. My name is Miriam Mensah. We're about to have a conversation. I told you this season of The Dish, yeah? You're going to see things and hear things. And after you finish hearing the stories of these incredible progressive women, you would know that there's always a right way to do things. And I told you that this show is here to shape that girl that is confused about her path in life. Sometimes it's okay to be confused. Sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you're confused. It's okay. Some of these incredible women have gone through those phases and figured it out. And they're here to help us navigate those journeys. How cool is that? Again, you're welcome to The Dish here on MX24. Connect with us on all social media platforms. It's The Dish, hashtag The Dish on MX. Connect with us as we learn and grow together. Today we're about to have a conversation with an incredible. Today, on the show we're sitting with a woman who's redefining what it means to be a property mogul. Okay, in Africa, when you hear the accent, you know that Africa redefined. Now, from luxury apartments to affordable housing projects, she's building dreams, one property at a time. Please join me as I have a great conversation. And now this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, personally, I think it's long overdue. I have waited for months, for years. Yes, I'm trying to put my words together because I don't want to misrepresent this brand because it's a solid brand. She's not just a business mogul. She is a friend and a sister. So today, you hear that conversational part of it as well as we get technical and very professional and very friendly as well. So you have a mix of a lot of things. It's a cocktail of conversations here. Now, Esme Sackey. Did I pronounce the middle name? Lois. Yeah. Lois Sackey. Right. I got it right, yeah. Now, meet Miss Lois. Okay? Hello. I want to break it down to them. Let them understand who we're talking to. Because some of you big women, you like to hide. And you know, a big part of this conversation, this show, is to unearth and bring to the forefront women who are doing incredibly well, but are behind the scenes. You know, when you go around and to schools, this show tours on campuses. So one of these days when we're going on a campus, we'll have to go with you. Mm-hmm. Yes. And when we go on these campuses, you ask them, who's your mentor? It's always 99% of the time a woman before, on the screens. Oh, amazing. 99% of the time, it's a woman on the screens. And it's almost as if the women who are actually doing the great work for what you see on the screens to happen even are not being, highlighted. And women who are breaking the actual glass ceilings are not being talked about, and that's why this show is here to make that happen. Well, Esme doesn't just sell homes, she creates exclusive high-value lifestyles, offering clients a comprehensive solution that includes not only buying and renting properties, but also expert interior design services for their new spaces. So that new house that your father is about to buy, because we're talking to small girls, and the big women as well. A strategic powerhouse, Esme transitioned from her role as a high-impact sales and marketing executive at Prime Rose Properties, where the masterminded the entire marketing department. Her innovative approach didn't just promote a corporate brand or image, it aggressively drove customer-based growth and set new standards for productivity in this sector. Oh, good. I have to take my time to run through this, okay? The Sackey strategy, data, determination, and dollars. Esme's success is rooted in a rare blend of data-driven strategic planning and a fearless pursuit of growth, which is something that we're very passionate about here on the show. Honed across leading media and marketing outlets in the UK and Ghana. Now, let's talk about Esme's operations and some of the things she's done. Esme operated as the pinnacle of luxury retail as a brand and marketing advisor for a number of brands of Selfridges.
Yes.
in Selfridges. In Selfridges.
Beauty brands. A lot of high-end beauty brands.
Goodness. Mm-hmm. I tell you.
And that's in London, though.
Goodness.
And
that's in London, though. So we'll talk about Selfridges in the show. Selfridges. Okay. She built empires from the ground up, leading business development and visual merchandising. Sorry, merchandising, and launching sophisticated new client systems. The 20% impact that she has had on some of you, because I think that there's a way you impact individuals that it's indirect. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to get into the conversation with Esme, isn't it? Because I'm ready. I'm ready. super ready.
I'm ready.
Let's start with you moving to Ghana. First of all, your last name tells it. You're Ghanaian.
Yes.
But anytime we speak to you, we can't hear the Ghana in you.
I know. I'll try small.
Try small. Okay, so Esme, do you speak any Ghanaian language now?
Mi pacho.
Dabi. How many years have you been in Ghana, Esme?
I've been in Ghana for a while.
What is stopping you from...
Do you know what? Maybe I need you. I need a tree teacher. I need someone to sit me down and be like, this is what we need to learn today. You know how it's like you're learning your foreign languages?
Yes.
I need that to be on my top priority list because I need to. Because, you know, my parents speak Fanti, Tree, Nzima, and I speak...
Nothing.
I speak a foreign language apart from English, but you know I need to learn my mother tongue.
What foreign language is that?
Spanish.
Ugh.
Yeah.
We cannot forgive her. No, we can't. We wish we could actually forgive you, but no, now we can't. You cannot be able to speak Spanish. You speak it fluently.
Well, intermediate. You know, I can have a conversation.
You can have a full conversation.
I can ask for directions. We can speak.
Honey, this is not right.
I know.
No.
Don't worry, but that's why you're here. You're going to teach me.
I'm going to do that. It's my new job for 2026.
And some of the viewers as well, I'm sure.
They'll help you.
You know, someone will help me out. Someone will message me
but
and
you know what's important for us to note? She was on TV. Tell me your journey to become a television personality. Did you set out to do that as part of all the incredible things you had done in your life? Or did you start that before all these amazing successes you garnered around the world?
Do you know what? It's been a journey.
Yeah.
To speak on the whole TV hosting, we need more than just the section and time we have right here because it's been a journey, especially my career in TV or just being a TV personality. It hasn't even been easy as well. I started off, you know, as I was younger, very much into the arts, very much into drama, and I knew I always wanted to be on TV. But before that, I always knew I wanted to own my own business. I remember I was at home in London when I was like around 10 and I was playing like I owned my own store, right? And I was a hostess of my own store, welcoming, you know, all of these different, you know, people into my store to patronize my business. And that was the first time I knew that I was a business person, even at 10. I knew that I wanted to have something, I wanted to do something. So going into the arts, my personality started to, you know, shine through because as a child, I wasn't probably as eloquent and as polished. Yes. And that takes years to kind of build that. And so I probably wasn't. I was quite quiet, very shy. And then when I got into secondary school, which I'm not sure what year that is in Ghana, secondary school, yeah. I started getting into the arts. I started to become more outgoing. I had always had a lot of friends, but I became more outgoing. And all my friends would do skits with me. Oh. And even in drama class, I would always be picked for every lead role. Oh. And that was telling to me because I was quite reclusive, you know, an introvert at first growing up. Yeah. And so later on in secondary school, I started to come out my shell. I had a lot of friends. I was always, you know, in drama class, always picked as the first person for every lead role. And that's when I started to realize that, do you know what, I have something here, you know. And even at church, I was Mary. Yeah. You know, I played Mary in church. My mum was a Sunday school teacher in church. And so I was always picked for like the lead roles of things, you know, as my confidence started to grow.
Beautiful girl privileges.
I wouldn't even say that because as a child, you know, you go through that growth, you know, that stunt growth as a child, and then you blossom later. You know, I was that child, very, you know, an introverted person, very quiet, but I knew somehow, somewhere, I wanted to have my own business, number one, and I wanted to be not so much in front of the screen. It was more I wanted to do something in the arts. That was it. It didn't matter if I was behind or in front. I wanted to be in the arts industry.
So eventually you found yourself on TV.
Yes.
And you did that for how long?
I did that for a while, on and off for a couple years.
A couple of years.
I did a lot of things in the UK, various different things.
Okay.
But majority when I came, majority of my TV work in Ghana was when I first came.
Yeah.
I was around probably 18, 19.
Oh.
And I met the CEO of EIB
Yes.
at that time.
At the time.
And I was like, I don't know, he took a liking to me because my sister at the time was the managing communications personnel for the British High Commission.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of found my
I
way, you know,
see.
into know who was who. And my sister always wanted to, you know, encourage me to, you know, find a niche in Ghana because she found something that she was great at in communications for the British High Commission. So then when I came along, you know, I started meeting different people in the industry, and I was like, okay, maybe I could do something in TV.
Yeah.
You know, and Boulevard was always pushing me like, oh, you have to be in front. And I was like, I really probably want to produce. I think I'm great at curating content for people to enjoy and love. Yeah. I think for me, in front of the camera, it was a lot of pressure. Because you have to look a certain way, you have to talk a certain way, you have to have a certain type of image.
Yeah.
And I really
you're not
wasn't
ready for that.
Yeah, and I wasn't really ready for that. I was ready for the behind the scenes. I was ready to create stories.
Yeah.
That people, you know, our consumers would fall in love with, essentially. So that was really where my passion lied.
Yeah.
But then as, you know, time went on, I started to realize that, no, you know, more people were like, no, I think you should be in front of the camera. Yeah. And I started to then realize that I think probably I should. This is it. Yeah. So then, you know, as you know, from Toast, from the original Toast. You know, with a few other people, Hayley, Cookie, as well, were on the panel. And as you know, before Toast has been reformed now, was, you know, all female dominated cast, talking about various different issues within Ghana, such as tribalism in marriage, you know, conflicts in relationships.
You remember it all.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. She took the job seriously.
It was one of the things that the producer at the time and I were creating stories for the show. So I also was working on the background.
So you were also co-producing that show.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Right. So at the time, me and the producer were working on content together. Oh. You know, and there were certain segments that I thought were passionate that we should talk about. You know, that were different, not this your generic, oh, you know, I'm in a relationship with a guy, I need help. Like it was, we needed to get down to the substance. Yes. Or some of the core issues.
I'd say that every time I've ever had any conversation with you, you want more. Is what I feel. And again, even right now, I'm feeling it from your tone that every time you ever get into a space, there has to be more to that thing. You do not want basic. It has to be the ultimate. So you were in media for a bit, and then right after that, you took a long break. I don't know if you're back. But
oh, I'm back.
Okay. So very soon you would see her on TV. I don't know which television platform, but you see her on TV.
Yeah.
Now, right after that, the next thing we heard about Esme was she was in real estate. How did that happen? From beauty brands, a Selfridges, to TV and real estate. Real estate was really alphabet like, wait, where from that? Tell me about that journey into getting into real estate.
The transition into real estate for me was very, very simple. I think to me it was a simple maths equation that made sense to me.
Okay.
You know, I feel like when you're in an industry, you know, as well as my qualifications and my background is, you know, marketing as well as other things as well. Yeah. You can market anything, right? As long as you have the fundamental tools, you can market any product, because I feel like our consumers are always looking for the next best thing or looking for something that will entice them. Sometimes, you know, on your algorithms or your feeds, sometimes you could be thinking about it and it just pops up.
It just pops up,
and you don't even know why. And sometimes you can see a product and you know, you can't even afford it, but it's something that's been on your mind. You can't even afford it, but it's something that's on your mind. And marketing to me is that there's a whole sort of equation about it. You know, when you think about how products are developed and how it's marketed and then how the consumer buys it, it's a whole like strategic planning in how it's done. And that interests me. Okay. And then how I got into TV, into real estate was really by chance. I've always been I loved interior design. That was something that was one of my passions as well growing up. And so real estate in Ghana was something that kind of fell into my lap by
Okay.
accident.
Oh, okay.
I was just approached by a CEO of a company or founder of a company who knew about, what I specialized in, not only me being on TV, but
Also your marketing
my
background.
marketing
Yeah.
background, and that's how I fell into the role. And then my family have quite a great portfolio in real estate in Ghana. So it just opened my eyes. So even though I came here when I was quite young, I opened my eyes to see what was here, and I could see what Ghana had to offer before it was already presented to the masses, before we started seeing the year of return and all these other things. I, had already seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of got into that space quite quickly.
Awesome.
So it was by accident. It fell into my lap, but because of the principles I had acquired from, my education, it was quite easy to fall into place.
Beautiful. Now, again, another moment to reflect on the things you say, you look like you're going for a lot. And I'm saying a lot because of the way society defines who a woman should be. You're going after all these successful, ventures. You're venturing into areas that people would say are very unconventional for women. Real estate is supposed to be for men. Do you not get scared of being judged to be too much? And
Oh, Mimi, you threw the words right out of my mouth. It's like, what I'm thinking.
Yeah?
Oh, Mimi, the industry, for me personally, when I started, I didn't see many women in positions that I took space in. Even the company I was in, I was the only female that was a lead or head of a department. There was no one else. I was amongst men. Whenever I would go to board meetings about, planning of some of our buildings, it's all men and it's just me. And that still didn't stop me because I'm surrounded in my family by a lot of men and women, so we've balanced out. So there is no way, because you're a man, you have more important things to say. With where I grew up, it wasn't like that. Me coming from, say, the Western world, we're equal. But when I came to Africa is when a lot of things did change. When I did get into that industry, that real estate industry, a lot of things did change. I had to realize that some men are sexist. There is sexism in the workplace. There is, I wouldn't say discrimination, but I would say, basically from where I came from, I wasn't as valued, right? Because they felt like, when you come from abroad, you know better. And it's not even that. You know something different, right? And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
That can help your industry you're in because we know something different. We've been taught something different. The same way if you go to the UK, you probably have different practices or principles. You may be able to add or subtract in the industry or the sector you're in. And it's nothing wrong with that. But I felt like I was very much feared in the industry I was in, especially in that company.
And how did you feel?
In the beginning, it was hard. But when you're the only person in that space, you're doing something right. So that made me feel like, okay,
very confident.
Very confident. In the beginning, it was quite intimidating because when I was at the workplace, nobody was trying to help me to find my feet. It was very much, I had to look on my days off, I had to look around and see what was in the market to know the competitors. I had to understand my role.
Your role.
Because even though you have those practices that you've learned from your qualification or from other places you've worked, this is a whole different country. So the limitations are different. So I had to understand our competitors, the sector we're in, the price points, where we are within the playing field of the real estate industry to know exactly how do I apply my practices that I've spent all these years acquiring an education and apply it to this sector. So it was difficult in the beginning, doing things independently, but I had a really great managing director of the company and an amazing founder.
We're still here on The Dish, and of course my guest is Esme. Esme, I want to call her the real estate mogul or the real estate queen. Oh, wow. Because in Ghana, we don't have a lot of you.
Really?
We have, it's a handful of
it's a
yous.
handful.
It's a handful of you. And so it's important for us to set the pace and record straight so that if there's a young girl watching today, she knows that it's something she can do. If Esme can do it, then I can do it. That's that's the attitude I need you to have. Now back into the studio, Esme. Let's talk about you as an individual. You're growing up. I was telling you something off camera that when you tell people that you've been through difficult times, they will not believe you because one, you have an accent. Two, you're very beautiful. And you have gotten to a level or a pedestal in life that a lot of you black women are not at, or they're still, working towards. We have a good number of black women succeeding around the world, but it's almost as if you have to be in a certain environment to be able to grow and become. For you, what is your story? How did you become this woman that knows how to go after the things she loves?
Do you know what? For me, it's seeing it growing up, having that role model. It's so cliche to say that, but my mother is so hardworking. My sister is so hardworking. My siblings, cousins, even distant cousins and cousins, I got to see, them go through things and then advise me maybe the things I shouldn't do. But just as being a child or growing up, you make mistakes. And that's nothing wrong with that. That's part of life. And it's so funny because I was having a conversation yesterday and they were literally telling me that life would be so boring if life wasn't full of ups and downs. Because as much as I'm like, oh my God, why did I go through that? Or, someone that's watching at home will be like, why did I go through that? It's all for a reason. So me growing up, for me, hasn't been easy. Like I've had personal challenges, family, bereavements in the family and different things happen. But my upbringing for the most part was just very solid, very much about family and all about hard work. And my road hasn't been easy. Like growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I always, I knew I wanted to be in business and I knew I wanted to own
not sure
something.
which business.
And I knew I liked beautiful things, but I didn't know what avenue because I liked a lot of things. When you're younger and you're good at
like a lot of things.
When you're good
multi-talented.
When you're good at quite a number of things, sometimes you get a bit lost. So my upbringing, I would say it was quite strict. I'm sure my siblings would say because I was the last, I probably got a bit easy. But I think
you still, from a family of high achievers like that, did you ever feel pressured, or did you ever feel little? Did you ever feel like I cannot make this happen? These people, they're too high up here. I will not be able to meet up to the standard, and it gave you anxiety?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, it did because my sister was always the A student, and I was the mid-level student that would get like your average B's or your C's. My sister was the A star, straight A's. Always the class prefect. I was that and some. And some.
And some.
Always the one playing, not the class clown, but semi, a bit there,
which is okay.
Always talking in class.
So my favorite person, GC Japan, will tell you that it is the so you, like we, the squad, that sometimes are class clowns or do all those sorts of stuff. We are who give the bell its shape. Yeah, and so we make it happen. Yeah. We make it happen. It doesn't matter. We are the real source.
We make it happen.
Because when you look at the bell shape, right, there's a right part of it that has like a few people who are doing great, and then there's those who don't do anything at all. But then we
in the middle.
We give the bell its shape. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay sometimes to be that.
It's okay.
Right. So that journey for you, you felt all of this, but how did you turn this anxiety into power and this powerful woman we're looking at right now?
Leaving the UK. How does one, leave where they grew up and where their family is to a foreign place? You can imagine, like, I don't speak the mother tongue, which is, please, very embarrassing. Somebody,
help me.
Help me.
We need help.
But I'm learning. But, you're basically coming to a foreign land. I just started coming here. My mum brought me here when I was younger, and I fell in love with Ghana. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I love it here. And then I started coming here, when I was like 18, 19. And everyone else in my family was like, what are you doing? They were just like, what is happening here? Yeah. Why are you going to Ghana? Of all places, not America, not Canada. You're going to Ghana.
What is in Ghana?
What is in Ghana? And nobody understood. Even till this day, I think people now are starting to
Understand what you saw.
because of what's happening as a country and where we are, you know, as a nation and where we are. I think people are starting to understand, but, you know, to cut a long story short, growing up obviously wasn't easy. Taking that transition from being in the UK, now coming to Ghana, you're coming to do what again? You know, it didn't make sense. And you're going to make how much again? That didn't make sense either. So my mum was not very forthcoming in the beginning, but later on, you know, she started to understand the vision. And I've always been a quite resilient person. You know, I've never really taken no as a no in anything.
Yeah.
But I also get that from my siblings, because my siblings are like that. They never take a no. They're always like, it can be a no, not right now, but maybe later.
Yeah.
That's how my siblings and my family see things.
I see.
You know, just because it's a no, it's not denied. You know that saying?
Yeah.
There's a saying that not right now doesn't mean that not.
Delay is not denial.
Yes, that's
yeah.
it. That's
Delay is not denial.
It's not a denial. And that's really important, that to even know that in anything you practice in life is that it may not happen now, but later
Yeah.
it will.
Yeah.
And it's so strange how things have come around full circle.
For-
but just growing up hasn't been easy. I'm sure, you know, a lot of people that are watching this program, their life isn't easy. But just, you know, to say to them that you just need to push through and find something that you like.
It helps, isn't it? It makes this very, very difficult life a little bit more easier
It makes
when
it
you're doing
easier.
something you like.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about our journey together. We worked briefly together, and it was a beautiful time. And when you walked into the set, she said something. She was like, "You look more relaxed." And I remember what that did to me, because at the time we were not that close, but we had different conversations, and it was always that thing about you that said that I'm going for whatever it is that is out here. If anybody can have it, then I can have it too.
Yeah.
And that attitude of yours is something I admire about you. Now let's get into officially launching into this real estate and business. So for any young woman who's trying a business idea like this, you know, what would be that advice you would give to them? I want to make it in life. Not necessarily in real estate, but just having that heart to go after something that would build me. Because the other day we had a conversation here on the show, and it was with an investment queen, and we're talking about how it's important for a woman to have her own.
Yes.
What is that thing that makes you want to have your own? What is that thing about life that makes you want, me, Esme, I have to have my own money. It can be old money, it can be family money, but I want to have my own. Why?
Financial freedom. I think everybody wants that in life. To have that freedom to choose and pick and, you know, pinpoint and say, I want this because I want it. You know, and that gives me so much satisfaction. Just as a person, or even just as a woman, just as a person. And it can be hard. Choosing a path can be very difficult. And, you know, back to what we were just talking about. People can like so many different things, right? But maybe not follow a path into that. But it's important to try different things so you know what you are good at and what you're not good at. That's one thing I'll say. You know, I don't know how your family is, but in my family, why I'm so blessed is because I didn't get that much pressure to do the traditional route. Traditional meaning, go be a lawyer, a doctor, you know, a solicitor.
Nobody pressured you to do that?
No. My mother's a nurse, but at the same time, I was never forced into that because I felt like my mother and my father knew I was going to be in the arts because of how later on in life I started to blossom and I started to enjoy that part.
Oh, you're a late bloomer?
Yes, very much.
Oh, and those are the most amazing human beings.
I was an introvert, very quiet. But when I talk to you, you'll listen. I was one of those type of people that are very quiet in my shop. But if you talk to me, you're going to listen.
You're going to stay and listen. I love that. That's very powerful.
For women getting into an industry, it doesn't have to be real estate, any industry. What I would say is being an entrepreneur isn't easy. And everyone will tell you that. I think 1,001 people have said it. It's not easy. But the one thing that helped my transition is helping my transition in is how I worked for an established company, to understand the principles, the basics, just the fundamental parts of a company, so that when you decide to be your own boss, you understand what it takes. Because that's the important part.
So you need to serve to be able to lead.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Not everybody needs to. Some people are able to just lead on their own without any sort of textbook to tell them what to do. But if you are that type of person that wants to learn and then evolve, it's best to follow a route or get into an industry. Then when you conquer that industry with understanding and knowledge, then you can say, okay, I want something for myself. Let me go do that.
That's very powerful.
Or you can do it alongside, which is what I was doing. Even though I was working for the company, you know, head of sales and marketing, I still had an idea that there's something for me in this market and I'm going to fill it. And I am going to serve those, especially in, you know, the diaspora, with a product. I have a product, they want it, I'm going to sell it to them. And that's literally what I came up with.
That's a part of your career that I would like us to later in this conversation delve into very deeply. But there's something about you that nobody can ignore. Your brand.
Yes.
Your personality. You built such an elegant and very, very trustworthy brand. Very credible brand you are.
Thank you.
Quite honestly, a lot of people, I see real estate names deal with you and I'm like, yeah, of course, because she's credible and she's elegant.
Thank you.
And even your career is very attractive, the way you put it out there. For a young person starting a business, how would they be able to build a brand so credible, so attractive that people will not be able to ignore?
For me in this industry, word of mouth is really important. You can have the brand built up in the background, such as, you know, your website, your Instagram, but word of mouth is so important. You could mention my name to somebody within the industry and they can say, oh yes, I know her, you know, and that automatically would make somebody feel at ease because, like, okay, you know this person.
Then I can deal with them.
You know, you possibly worked with this person. I feel like that is what makes a lot of people comfortable within this industry. They always, you know, put a name out there. Even to me, do I know this person? I'm like, oh yeah, I know this person. And then after that, I'll explain, oh, I know this person for this or for that, etc. So not only having something people can see, a visual platform, it's also the word of mouth, which is really important. And that has helped half of my business, is word of mouth of people knowing who I am, or not only then the digital platforms out there, it's people saying, such as yourself, you know, recommending me to people, family and friends, you know, other business owners, general consumers that are wanting to get into this industry, wanting to buy, rent, you know, sell. You know, word of mouth is so important, and that's what's really helped me in this industry.
Which means that before you even get to deal with anyone, you need to, as a person, work on you, so that they are able to move away from you and want to even recommend you. So you have to be diligent with your work.
It's very important.
You have to be diligent with your work. You cannot show up at work and be sluggish and misbehave around work.
You have to be personable. It's one thing. This industry takes a lot of personality, especially for that client to even want to interact with you. I'm not saying come out and be screaming and dancing and be loud, you know, when you're showing a property or even speaking to a consumer, but it takes a lot of personality and personable. There's days where I've gone into work and I have to meet several different people or do viewings and do open houses, and I'm not in the mood to speak to people, but you have to. You're in an industry to serve. You know, that's how you're going to get your reward after you serve your clientele and your consumer. So it's very important to try and be very personable. Even if you're not, there's a way you can do it in your dialogue, in the way that you deal with people on a platform or on a forum, on an email, you know, marketing that you do. Is just very important to get yourself out there, especially in this industry. It's a lot of, you know, it's a face-to-face industry. People see your face before they even hear you speak. You know? And
it's important to be able to come with both the brains and the beauty.
And it's really important to be able to, you know, have 50-50 of both.
the real estate industry is fast growing in different countries and continents, and so would say that there is a future for this. Well, let's establish that. But is there a future for real estate for women in this industry, real estate? Women, do we have a place? And how do we take up those spaces?
Oh, absolutely, we have a place. We have a place in every single industry. I'm sure every single sector, there is a woman. There are women, not even a woman, women.
They're women.
There are women.
There are women.
I think we need more women in these sectors. Not only just sales reps. I'm not talking about sales associates or people or hostesses, you know, of a company or real estate company. I'm talking about being in the boardroom, being, you know, quantity surveyors, being managing directors, head of finance, business development. We need women to head those departments because it's really important. We need women in every industry.
Yeah.
You know, I just feel like as a woman, you bring some sort of calm and level-headed attitude to so many different scenarios. And just not only that, who doesn't want to look at a very attractive lady? I think that's helped half of my business.
So aesthetically, you need to be very pleasing.
Not only that, in your own way, but it helps, you know, to have a nice smile, it helps. You know, when you're, you know, showing a client around the house and you have a nice smile, they may come into that meeting very upset. Oh, I just want to see this property quick, you know, how much is it? When you have a nice smile, you're warm and inviting, they stay and have a chat. Sometimes that's how they even recommend you to their friends.
Yes.
And they may not even buy right now, but I promise you they're going to come back. Even for something else later regarding real estate. They'll come back later and be like, oh, you know what? I'm not in Ghana at the moment, or I am in Ghana and I don't have time. I've seen this property. I would like your opinion. I've had so many clients that probably haven't bought from me, but they've asked me advice on various different things and said to me, okay, you know, where can I go for interior design, or where can I go to buy this furniture? So I've had so many different clients just work around me in so many different ways. Yeah.
And so personality is important.
It's important, and women in business, especially these sectors, is very important, and we need more. We need more. If you know you're someone that wants to be in this industry, give it a go.
When we mention Esme in the next 5 years, what legacy would you want to leave in the minds and in the hearts and in the mouths of people? And I say mouth because you need to leave a good taste in the mouths of people when you leave them. What legacy would that be?
I would want people to know me as a very diverse individual. Not only knowing me for being in the real estate sector and having knowledge and acquired so much experience in the industry, not only about beautiful things, luxurious homes, because I cater to everyone, by the way. I cater to everybody.
She's about to cater to me.
And no matter your price range, I am here to serve you. I'm here to find you the most perfect location for you to be at ease and lay your head. That is my most important thing, I would say. It's, you know, your needs and your comfortability is our priority, which is, you know, my company's priority. And what legacy I would like to leave is a great portfolio of properties in various different countries, not just in Africa, because we do have you know, a sister partner in other African countries, but not only in Africa, also in the UK, also in, you know, UAE is really important for me as well, to build that base there. So just a legacy I would like to leave is just a massive portfolio in every sector I've dipped my hand into, whether it's, you know, TV hosting or content producing, real estate, beauty. I want to know that I've impacted somebody along the way. I think that's important for me. And I feel like in the next few years, what I would like to have is just a union of people. It doesn't have to be women. It can be men and women that want to get into these industries and need help.
And just guide them through the journey.
Guiding them through.
Yes, because I think that's also very important. I said the other day on the show that I think we're here to be happy and do all the great things, and most importantly, to impact. Because after you've done all these amazing things and you've left, what then do you leave behind? And you want to be able to live even after you're gone.
Yes.
And you live through these individuals that you've impacted, and so I'm really, really glad that you bring that up. Real estate in Ghana, and we're heading towards December, and we heard of Year of Return and how people brought properties here.
Right.
Tell us the fact on the ground and what it looks like in December, how that can be tapped into, because now we're going to the government institutions now. How can we build real estate tourism in Ghana strongly so that women can lead that? Because now our tourism sector is led by a woman, so let's make a few suggestions to her. December coming, what can we do with real estate here in Ghana? How do we, in the past couple of years when we've started all this Year of Return and all of that, how has that been for owners and even people coming into this country?
Oh, it's been huge. It's been such a big time within the year. Christmas, especially holidays, Christmas, Easter, New Year, has been really, really lucrative for Ghana in the tourism industry, because people are coming in from the diaspora wanting to know, what is Ghana about? What do we have to offer?
Yeah.
So real estate industry has been amazing, because you house and meet so many different people from all walks of life, looking for that one thing. They're looking for something, or looking for somewhere, shall I say, something and somewhere nice to stay. And not only that, I know other people, other women within the industry that are in tourism that create packages, like travel packages, like to, you know, Elmina Castle, to Bojo Beach, all these different festivals, you know, Afrofuture, you know, Afrochella, all these different packages that they create for those from the diaspora. So for me, real estate in this time that we're in right now is huge, because I feel like a lot of people within the industry, the real estate industry, make a lot of money during Christmas.
Yeah.
And if you don't, come and see me. But
if you're in this industry, you're not making a lot of money during the Christmas period, come and see Esme.
come and see me.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a strategic way of doing it. Like I said, for me, it's always been not only just me being on such platforms, you know, social media. I have actually been, you know, with certain people that have just said, oh, you know, Esme, have someone coming through. It was even, you know, an artist. I did somebody's home. I did interior for an artist's home who lives in the UK. And he then forwarded me from word of mouth, was like, oh, you know, Esme does real estate in Ghana. She can house everybody. And there was at least 15 people that came over.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. 15 people came over, and I housed them all in one very cute, quaint residence in airport. They loved it. They loved it to the point where they're even planning to come back again. And who did they message? Me.
It's me.
So, you know, tourism during Christmas has been amazing. There is a strategic way of doing things, posting, making sure you're showing what you have to offer, and making sure you have something for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's okay to also say, I want to be in a certain bracket, because we're just talking about that.
Yeah.
How you are in a certain bracket, but I feel like I can accommodate for everyone.
Yeah.
Just give me your budget,
And we're good to go.
And we're good to go. And I'll find something for you. That's like my key goal.
Lovely.
Is finding something for everyone. Even though you know that sometimes you can't, but I try my best to find something for everyone, given your budget.
What motivates you, Esme, as an individual, as a woman who is in business, who is just always looking beautiful? What motivates you as a woman when you're in your quiet and calm and you're not speaking to anyone and you're just by yourself? What is that thought that runs through you? What place do you usually find yourself in? And what motivates you?
Do you know what motivates me is dreams of my future. That's what motivates me, is because I know what I want.
When you think about it, that's how she wants to buy in Maldives. You're ready to wake up and go to work.
I just have to dream of what I want, and I feel like it comes to me quite, not instantly, of course not. There's been grafting, there's been hard times, there's been tears, there's been, you know, long nights. But I always try and manifest or dream about what I want. And prayer has a lot to do with it. I don't think I would have gotten a lot of opportunities I have had if it wasn't for favor. That has literally...
The God factor.
I always tell everybody this.
Would you say you're a Jesus baby?
Yes, 100%. Over the years,
New member, please.
over the years of me even being in Ghana, I've become very more spiritual than I ever have been. The importance of being connected to God in what you want, because we as human beings, we think we can do it all, but him, he's doing it all. And I was telling my mother this the other day, how favored I am. I went somewhere and I went to do a viewing at one of these properties that I've been admiring for some time. And the developers just finished one side of their phase, their first phase of their development, and they did a second phase. And I was like, okay, who owns this house? Because I've been looking at the whole development for a while. You know, I don't know the developers, but I wanted to know who owns this house. I spoke to the security, went and took a look around. The security is like, oh, the owner, his house is just behind here, behind the development. Okay. So he called him and, you know, was talking to him, was like, oh, we have some lady here, she really likes this property. And he was like, come to my office. Meanwhile, the man has already favor. I was speaking to him about something that I was dealing with in terms of like real estate and land issues. And he connected me to one other person, who's now connected me to another person to get the job done. How amazing is that? That's just not normal.
That's just God.
That's just not normal. That doesn't happen every day to everyone.
No, it doesn't.
And that's just not because I'm, you know, someone so special. It's favor.
Yeah. And only God can give that.
Like how it just aligned. I was even so surprised. It didn't take me more than an hour. And now I have that listing for that property. After I just met with that man. I was just talking to him about something. I needed, you know, help with an issue. He was like, oh. And then I said, oh, you know, I'm into properties. That's what I do. And I've been studying this development for a long time. And he was like, I'll give the listing to you. Doesn't know me from anywhere. Doesn't even know my portfolio. Just how interested I was in what I was explaining to him about real estate. He was like, I'm going to give you this listing. List it out for me. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll do that.
Lovely. Lovely. And so this is where I sing to you, look at God. Indeed, indeed. Esme, before we wrap up this conversation, and I hope you've enjoyed it. So
I have.
Yeah.
We can talk for hours, actually.
I know. Give us 2 hours for our own episode. This episode is for 2 hours, please. But if you could give one piece of advice to this generation and what it is that we're doing as a people. I know you're out here because of your work, you're engaged with a lot of people, and so you do understand where we are both economically and mentally as a people. What advice would you give a young lady who's about to start her life? And she's looking at you today and she's like, this
heavy one.
Yeah, this far-fetched. I will not be able to get to Esme's level before, you know, I leave this earth. You know, sometimes when they look at women like you, they it's almost as if, you know, this is not real. This can't happen. These people probably have some opportunities. What advice would you give to that girl?
I would just repeat everything I was saying from the beginning. You have to try, and fail as many times as it takes. Because nothing comes easy. You know, that whole saying, you know, nothing that you want comes easy.
Nothing good comes easy.
But at the same time, try different things. I would say for the young girl coming up is don't make excuses for why you can't do certain things. I know one will say finances, especially in certain families and situations, finances can be, you know, a burden, but there are institutions and even people that you can meet online. It's free. You know, send them a message, explain to them what you're looking for, especially if you pinpoint that person that you admire. All you have to do is send a message. And that person may or may not respond. Keep trying. Keep looking into other people that you admire in that industry you want to get into. Speak to them. Find out how they did it. They can even take you under their wing and mentor you. Money doesn't always have to be an obstacle as to why you don't do certain things. And I feel like that has also been my story. As much as you see me here polished today, money has never been something I would say that's hindered me. or said, if I didn't have this money, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way around it. If I don't even have it, I'm going to find a way around it to attain what I want. Some way, somehow. So I would tell that young girl that's watching, or young man that's watching, is to try as many different things as you want when you are younger. When you get to a certain age,
You don't have the luxury to do that.
not even that you don't have the luxury, I feel like you need to start curating that niche industry for yourself. Because, you know, when you're 18, you're in secondary school, you're finding different things, and it's fine, you know, have fun with your friends, but still have that angle where when it's time to get serious, it's time to get serious, right? It's time to get serious, but still have that angle you can follow through. Definitely when you're watching TikTok and all these different forums, it's funny when you're watching things to laugh for a while, but also have something serious in mind. You know, have somebody else that you're watching on these forums that you're interested, that educate you, that inspire you. Follow them. You know, engage. Message under their posts. You know, engage. It's all about creating your own community. As well. That's very important. It's creating that community. Don't say because, oh, you know, this person looks too polished, the person won't message me. You don't know what the person even needs from you, what they will see in you. Do you know how many people today, like you and I, that would need somebody, you know, who would want to be mentored by us or would want to get in a certain industry? That experience is free. You're not saying come, you know, pay me to come and shadow me. No, you come here. You come here, you shadow me. Get that little bit of first-hand knowledge, or like we say, you know, theory, you know, or practical, as they say. You can have the theory in the textbook, but it's the practical.
But practical one,
Practical is what you need. So what I would say to inspire young girls is keep pushing. Try as many things as you can when you're in school. You know, do as many activities. Don't let money hinder you. I know that can be very painful and deterring for a person when finances are not there. But there's so many things that you can do for free.
True. When you take a look at our set today, it's not the usual. It's not the same room. And so, of course, we're having a conversation with a real estate mogul. Of course, she's going to hook us up on something amazing. So this place, I'm not going to be the one to do that. That's her job. So I'm going to listen. She's listing the property now. What is this beautiful space? When the team and I came in, we were like, this is luxury.
Beautiful, right?
This is beautiful. What's this place called again?
So it's Cantonment City Tower.
Okay.
So it's their newest building. Their newest building. They have a couple, you know, properties around in Cantonment. But this is their newest property.
And it's alright. Listen, this is breathtaking.
I know, it's so
from the entrance, it's clean.
Very, very clean.
What?
The aesthetic is very, very warm. It's definitely, you can't hear as much noise as you usually would, you know, from the outside of the traffic. We are on the main street in Cantonment. However, it's just very warm and inviting, and it's their new listing, which I'm so happy to invite you over.
Beautiful. So if someone wanted to see properties, they wanted to buy properties, do you help with mortgage facilities?
Yes,
you do.
I do.
Awesome. So, and do you know that a lot of young Ghanaians do not know about this?
I know.
That they can actually buy homes and pay until like, how many years? 15?
15.
Until 15 years. And so you can work your entire life just building that dream home, or just having that dream home where you and your family can be at, and you can pay over 15 years. That education we need to get to Ghanaians. So quickly touch on that and what your company can do for young people over here in Ghana, because MX24 gives the platform for young people to learn and grow. And so let's hear you, real estate queen.
You know, attaining your own property is really important. Having something of your own is really important. But just know there is no rush, okay? Finding your perfect home isn't somewhere you walk into and you're like, this is where I want to be. Even finding the right land, right? There's a lot of different issues that comes with acquiring land that people do not know. And so those are the points you also need to consider when you're purchasing land, or you're buying a house, or you're purchasing an apartment. There's certain different ways and avenues you can go down as a financial aspect of things. When you're buying an apartment, there's, depending on the company, there could be a 20% down payment, and then you can stretch the rest of the payment probably in a year and a half, depending on the company, because each company has different policies of their financial breakdown. So that all depends. But they do give you an advantage sometimes with certain companies that, you know, if you buy the first 20 properties, we give you 100%, not 100%, sorry, $1,000 off, you know.
Yeah.
There's different companies that have very attractive packages that can favor different people in different circumstances in their financial life, because that all depends, isn't it? So with my company, I help with various different needs within real estate. We also have property lawyers on board within the company, like a sister company that we deal with land acquisitions, understand paperwork, because a lot of people don't, especially when they come from the diaspora. They're like, okay, they've seen this land for 50K. You know,
what does it mean to buy that property?
What does it mean to buy that property? Is there a lien on the property? Is there someone else's name on the property? There's so many things you have to go through, land, you know, registration, to find out if there's any issues with the land or someone else's name on the land. Because land you see today, it's not like how it was back in the day. I say your mother's time or my mother's time, where it was probably a bit easier. Now it's like people are selling the land 3 times over, and you won't even know. You know, you'll just see this bare land with the sign saying for sale. Until you go and do your own checks, that's when you know what is really
There's 3 people that own
land.
this land.
So it's very important.
Did you feel the media personality in that last part of the voice here? Now you can tell she's a voiceover artist, she's a TV personality. That came out nice. I like how you blend life so easily. It's a good thing. But Esme, it's been amazing. You know,
been amazing to see
listen, this interview is long overdue.
I know,
we need
it's
it.
been
So long
overdue.
we've been talking about this. 2 years.
It's been a long time.
And I think that it's just right that I share my part of life that has made me to, you know, with these incredible women who watch us every single Monday and connect with us. On all social media platforms is MX24GH. Connect with us as we learn and grow together. Esme, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And see you at the top, where you are actually arriving very soon.
I'm going to meet you there.
Yes, baby. Yes. Now that's what we do here on The Dish. We give you exclusive content with incredible women. We call them progressive women, women who understand that this life, you need to do it like the violent, take it by force. But indeed, do it with dignity, do it with wisdom, do it measured. Here on The Dish, I tell you we learn and grow together. And we're doing this. The next year is going to be very amazing, and I'm bringing you more women who are changing the narrative. You know, that which says that the woman should just be in the kitchen. We're telling you that the woman could do more. But we're not contesting with the men, you know? We're giving them this space, and we say, just give us a seat at the table too. Let us show you how we can help build this society of ours together. My name is Miriam Mensah. I'll see you again next week right here on the platform that doesn't do nothing but elevate voices, and that is women's voices here on MX24. It's the home of building brands and individuals that do nothing but just the most amazing things, right? Again, see you again next week. We'll see you as we bring you another exciting episode of The Dish here on MX24.